Hi. Hi. Welcome back to the alcohol experiment by Annie Grace. Read to you by me, Melissa O'Malley. Today's day 29. The chapter is titled Tough Love, and we always start with a quote. Today's quote is by Orison Swett Marden, and it says, "The golden opportunity you are seeking is in yourself. It is not in your environment. It is not in luck or chance or the help of others. It is in yourself alone." As we are in the last 2 days of this experiment, it's time for some tough love. Please know today's lesson is written with love and compassion. At the end of the day, the key to unlocking how you handle alcohol is on the inside. You are the only one who can make the change. The choice is yours. No one else can do it for you. And you have a unique opportunity right now to take complete responsibility for your actions going forward. We spend so much time thinking, I would drink less if my life weren't so stressful. Or if my husband hadn't left me, I wouldn't be drinking so much. Or if my kids were nicer to me. Or maybe when the kids are out of the house. There's always a reason or an excuse for drinking too much. The truth is, this train runs only one way forward. Based on your personal physiology and the addictive nature of alcohol, things are only going to get worse over time. You'll build up a tolerance and need more and more alcohol to deal with the cravings. You'll drink more and more. Look at your friends and relatives who choose to drink. Are they drinking more or less than they did 5 years ago? Depending on their age, they may be drinking less than they did in the booze soaked college days. But in general, what has been the progression during normal post college adulthood? Hopefully, this experiment has taught you to be mindful about your drinking habits. It has given you the power to look at your behavior from a different perspective. If you go back to mindless drinking, you could be headed somewhere you don't want to go. Self medicating with alcohol is not a long term answer to anything. In fact, it's the opposite. It only increases stress, depression, and anxiety. If you've got real world problems, drinking is only going to mask them in the short term and make things worse in the long term. I consider myself lucky to have started looking at my drinking when I was still in control of the situation. After the first or second time I drank in the morning, I took a step back and started to make some life altering decisions. The longer you delay making changes, the harder it will be. Your brain will become accustomed to the alcohol. Remember that dopamine is one of the feel good chemicals your brain releases to experience satisfaction and pleasure. Alcohol destroys dopamine receptors over time, which means you'll have a harder time getting pleasure from everyday activities like playing with your kids or going to the movies with friends. The longer you're on the train, the harder it is to get off. So ask yourself, where are you headed? What does your future look like if you don't make a change? What's life going to be like for you a year after this experiment? How about in 5 years or 10? Whatever alcohol is costing you now, it's going to cost you more in the future. Remember your why. Think back to why you started this experiment in the first place. You wanted to shift, to pivot, to make space for a better tomorrow, and you may even be searching for your true purpose in this world. How are you meant to be giving back, and can you ever do that if you're not your best self? You've come so far in the past few weeks. Really, you are amazing. And you owe it to yourself to put some thought and intention into how you want to go forward from here. How do you want your life to go? Does it make you sad or bummed out to say, I'm never going to drink again? That's the case for so many drinkers. They have lots of memories of drinking with their friends or having wine with their spouses, and it's sad to set an ultimatum to never ever touch alcohol again. You might get to that point, and that's great, but ultimatums like I'm never going to drink again set you up for failure. It's like going on a diet and saying I'm never going to have chocolate again as long as I live. Never is a long time. So instead of that, try setting some non negotiables for your life. These are promises you make to yourself that allow you to make conscious decisions about your drinking. But if you cross over a certain line, then you return to a longer period of abstinence. It's important that you don't consider this a punishment for screwing up. It's simply a line in the sand that you are drawing for yourself. It actually gives you more control over your own behavior than if you leave your drinking up to chance. One of my own non negotiables was about memories. I'm never going to get so drunk that I black out and forget things. I'm not going to sacrifice my memories of family vacations or social gatherings because I'm drinking too much. Or I'm never going to drink so much that I puke the next morning. Before you return to drinking, reflect on your drinking days. At what point did you go too far? Draw your line in the sand and stick to it. If those behaviors start creeping back into your life, return to this experiment and try it for 60 days or 90 days. It doesn't matter how many times you catch yourself and return to abstinence. What matters is you catch yourself sooner and sooner every time. And that you reflect later after each episode whether it's worth it to return to drinking. It might be, but you might also start to notice that it's not fun anymore. You might decide you're tired of going around and around with the whole alcohol game. That's okay too. You can always return to abstinence, and eventually you might decide to stay there. Gaining control. It's impossible to make these kinds of decisions when you don't have full control. When you're in the grips of a craving, something primal comes over you, and a neurological need takes precedence over your conscious desire to do better. So you need to set your non-negotiable line in the sand right after a period of sobriety, like this 30-day experiment. You are in full control of your faculties and you can make rational decisions without cravings or emotional addictions influencing you. When you make a firm decision about something, it's so much easier. You don't have to go around and around in your brain wondering if you should stay sober for a while. You know the exact point you need to do it. And then you just do it and get your life back on an even keel. When people successfully complete a period of sobriety, they feel so confident and happy. They know they can handle anything that comes their way. They finally have control over their drinking habits. It breaks my heart to see these same people completely blindsided when they find themselves reverting to their same old behavior patterns. They don't see it coming. And worse, they are so cruel to themselves when it happens. Their self-esteem completely disappears. If they could physically beat themselves up, they would. Please don't let this happen to you. As long as you realize you could slide backward at any time, you will remain vigilant. Use the tools I've given you in this chapter to monitor what's happening in your life and make the best decision that you want freedom and control over alcohol more than you want to drink, which means that quitting forever is always a possibility if necessary. Don't beat yourself up if you find yourself backsliding. Learn from your mistakes and move forward again. If you allow it, you can get stronger every time you come back. I also want to reframe your definition of success. When I worked in the corporate world, we often celebrated even a 5% increase in sales or a 10% decrease in costs. If you made a 10% reduction in how many calories you ate each day, or a 20% improvement in how many times you went to the gym, that would be huge. Yet for some reason, we have this idea that we're either 100% perfect or we're failures when it comes to alcohol. Let's look at it a different way. If you normally drink every night, then by making it 30 days without a drink, you've made an 8.2% reduction in your drinking in the last year. Congratulations, that's huge. If you made it through this experiment but slipped up one day, you got a 97% success rate. If you slept up 5 days, you're still at an 84% success rate. That is massive. I love it when people start to look at their drinking in this way. By celebrating the wins instead of the blips, we start to see real positive changes. It puts a smile on my face when I go from getting sad emails from people who can't get past day one to excited emails from people who report they now have a 70% alcohol-free rating for the month. This reframing can change everything. Today, realize that real change starts with making commitments and start defining some non negotiables, the lines in the sand that you will not cross. And if you do cross the line, you have a huge warning, flashing red light saying, whoa, wait a second, you're headed someplace you don't want to go. Crossing your line in the sand is your signal to step back and take another break. Maybe you need another 30-day reset, or maybe you need to go back and read your journal entries. What are your non negotiables? And what will happen if you do happen to break one of them? Take some time to write these down and commit to them. Day 29 journal questions. Remember, all the wisdom you seek is actually inside you. The most important words in this experiment are the ones you tell yourself. Take some time to answer these questions here in a journal, a voice memo to yourself, or simply by speaking the answers out loud for only you to hear. 1. Where is your train headed? Now it is time for you to be truly honest with yourself. There is no downside. The only things that result from honest reflection are awareness and motivation for change. You are not losing anything through complete honesty. You can still always make your own decisions. You will just be making them from an empowered, knowledgeable place. Today, considering the train analogy and understanding that over time you become more tolerant to alcohol while enjoying it less, where was your alcohol train headed before this experiment? If you don't commit to changing your relationship with alcohol going forward, then what will your life look like a year from now? 5 years? 10? 2. Asking a new question. Reflect on this new question. How do I live my happiest, best life? Instead of the old question, do I have to stop drinking? Can you accept that living alcohol-free might be a tool to living your happiest, best life? If you determine that living alcohol-free is a tool you need in your life, can you envision making peace with that decision, knowing that it is contributing to your happiest, best life? Write whatever comes to mind as you consider this idea. 3. Write a letter to your future self. Take a few minutes to imagine yourself in 5 or 10 years. Think about what you will look like, where you will be, who you will be with, what you will like and dislike. Think compassionately about this self of the future and imagine how your choices today will determine the quality of life for this very special you of tomorrow. Take some time to write a letter to your future self. Write your hopes, fears, and dreams with love and compassion. Awesome. That's day 29. Tomorrow's day 30, the last day of the experiment. The chapter is titled, What's Next? And then there's like one final word that I will do in a separate video, probably. I guess. No, maybe I'll just do one. I don't know. It's kind of short. Maybe I'll just do one more. So I will see you tomorrow for day 30. Take really good care of yourself. Until then, bye.